All right, guys. Sorry we had a little bit of technical difficulties getting started, but we are live. And here we go. So,
Yep, we're live.
good. Well, thank you guys for joining us live here. We know we had a late start, but we're going to let some people get on here and join the live broadcast and join the discussion. We're here today to talk HB. You got to turn your volume down.
Who's that? Who's that?
All right, so we're here to talk HB4938. Guys, if you have been living under a rock, there's been a House bill proposal by Texas lawmakers here in Texas to abolish the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department.
What?
So we're here to talk about it, aren't we, guys?
Yes, we are.
And we're going to talk a little bit about it, but before we do that, I'm going to try to share with you guys a video so you guys will actually join us in the news and watch the news with us, and we'll see a little clip on what exactly we're talking about, and we'll dive right in that discussion.
Yeah, because there's not exactly a whole lot of information. I mean, when did this come out? Like a couple days ago, I think, 2, 3 at the most.
Yeah, it just kind of popped out of nowhere and just kind of spread like wildfire. I know they're talking the date September 1st is where it's going to solidify if it goes through.
That's crazy. As we get into it, there's so many moving parts and pieces that September 1 date, that seems a little fast. Yeah. Like,
What's the reason?
Yeah, they seem a bit excited about it.
When do they propose to vote on it?
Well, they're saying we'll get into the proposals and all that, but before we do that, let me.
You can play the video.
I'm gonna play the video, but before we get started, guys, if you're joining us live, man, if you can just hit like, share with your friends, bring everybody in that that the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department is gonna affect them, or abolishing it, or whether it stays, whether it goes, we don't know. But if you feel like somebody would like to join in on the topic, go ahead and share that with your friends. The more people we have, the more engagement we have, the more this gets out in front of people, and it helps us build this going. So we're trying to get this going back. It's been a while since we were in the seat, but we're here, we're live, and we're gonna get you guys in on the conversation. So I'm gonna try to queue up a video and share with you guys what we're talking about. So how are we looking on the live? Have we got anybody to join, or do we need to wait another 30 seconds?
We got 3.
3, perfect. All right, so that's about half of our viewers.
Yeah.
We're doing good. So here we go. I'm going to try to queue up this video,
I
guys.
bet we know them all.
Be patient with me. I'm going to try to do something new here.
Few months, Texas House representatives have filed more than 6,000 bills to be discussed and voted on this session. Just a day before the deadline to file, District 56 Representative Pat Curry filed a bill that, if passed, would get rid of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department.
News 10's Isabella Quintanilla has been looking into this. She joins us now in studio with more on what exactly this would do if passed. Isabella.
Yes, that's right, Lauren and Gordon. According to its text, House Bill 4938 would abolish the department by redirecting their duties to other state agencies. Today, I talked with the representative behind the bill to find out why he believes the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department needs to change. The role of Texas Parks and Wildlife is to provide outdoor recreational activities while protecting the wildlife and their habitat, something Representative Pat Curry understands is very important.
I think Parks and Wildlife it does a great service in a lot of different ways. And it's been a very good agency, and I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman.
However, because of this, he sees firsthand people's issues with the department and some of their regulations. For example, many have raised concerns over the department's handling of the chronic wasting disease with deer, killing millions in an effort to control the spread.
If you have a deer breeder over here that might have a problem, and every ranch within 5 miles of it is restricted because of that one guy, that's stomping on landowner rights.
According to Representative Curry, he tried to work with their commission on a solution with no luck, which led him to file House Bill 4938.
So what this bill would do, if it were to pass, would be to take a state agency and move its parts and pieces to other agencies.
Hoping that they can figure out a solution before it gets to that point.
I don't want us to get there. What I want is, I want clarity, I want transparency, and I want general fairness in our rules and regulations.
KWTX did reach out to Parks and Wildlife, who shared in a statement they are, quote, proud of the important role our agency plays in managing Texas land and waters in coordination with our partners and private landowners to provide for hunting, fishing, and outdoor recreation. But Representative Curry says something needs to change.
The intent of this bill is really to start a conversation and get a conversation going with the commission on, let's work together with the legislature on some of these rules instead of letting rules stomp on the rights of landowners and small business and legislators.
Back in 2021, a commission for the Texas legislature did review the efficiency of their department, deciding to allow them to continue. The findings from that review will be linked under this story on the KWTX website.
Let's get a conversation started. Yeah.
So now that I see, I kind of now know what the catalyst was to this.
Bring the mic a little closer.
So I'm guessing the catalyst for all this was the fact that we had a ranch here in Texas somewhere who's had a couple of deer that had chronic wasting disease, and they had to slaughter all those animals.
Yeah, there's been a few of them.
So I'm guessing that's the catalyst for this bill, because now I understand that they're probably going to separate owning and farming and ranching deer as part of agriculture. So that would define.
So those deer are considered livestock, like the deer breeder.
And I guess, they would fall under the Department of Agriculture if that would be the case.
But we don't know what that is.
Yeah,
yet.
but I mean, the way he leaned toward it was that was the catalyst for all this. So I'm guessing.
So this gentleman, who's this gentleman? Named Pat Curry, correct? Pat Curry.
Representative Pat Curry.
Yep. Congressman or Representative Pat Curry, District 56, which is here local-ish for us up in McLennan County, Waco. The county just north of us in the Waco area. So from what I understand, this guy's a prominent businessman. I think he owns a couple of, what are the jump house places? Urban Air?
Urban Air.
Yeah, Urban Air. I think an AC, like an HVAC company.
What else does he do?
Calcium, something like, I don't know, manufactures and sells calcium or something. He's a prominent businessman. And breeds deer, right?
Bum, bum, bum.
And the big one, he breeds deer. So from the outside perspective, this is just me, my opinion, the outside looking in, is you got a prominent businessman that had a run-in with the commission at some point over the CWD issue. Yeah. And I'm not taking that lightly. That's very serious, so I understand the issues there. But I think that he had that issue, and if you didn't know, he was elected this past election in November, so he's been in since November. So prior to that, I think that he tried to make something happen and he couldn't, right. And now he got into a position of influence, if you will, right? And now he's in a game of whose dick is bigger with Texas Parks and Wildlife. So that's my opinion on it. Now, do I think that there's some valid? We're going to dig deeper into all of that. Do I think that there's some valid stuff in there? Yeah, I do think that there's some valid stuff in there. But I also think that it's merely a game of he's trying to play a Texas Doge. And if you read some of the articles, that's what it is. Depending on where you are, Doge is wildly popular or wildly unsettling for some. You know what I mean? In this part, it seems to be wildly popular, and I think he's trying to expel on that and say, oh, yeah, well, let's do it over here. But in the long run, I think it's about continuing to balance his fat wallet, making sure that's in check. Other breeders are in check with it. But if you look at how many breeders there are compared to how many outdoorsmen, hunter, fishermen, and things like that in the state of Texas, I mean, who wins that? You know, numbers are... Yeah. I guess in the long run, I don't think there's a snowball chance in hell of this happening, of getting passed. But other things, too. I didn't think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would. AOC got reelected before, so shit gets crazy, right?
So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department going away? Or are we talking about transfer of authority or transfer into different agencies? I mean, we have an article from...
Yeah, so it reads...
what is it? The Austin Statesman... and it actually covers, basically what. Robert, will you read those off? Read these off.
Yeah.
So we're gonna cover a little bit of basically.
Before we do that, introduce Robert and Angel again.
Yeah, so
they've both been on. Yeah.
For those of you watching for the first time, you're watching essentially the Cast and Blast podcast. We're doing this live today. Normally it's a pre-recorded, but not edited, very raw and uncensored podcast. We do this here, as you can see. We produce this live. There's no editing or anything like that. We just try to give you guys raw and uncensored content. And this is going to be a long form content today where we talk open discussion. And I'm going to introduce my guest today. Of course, I'm your host, Pinche Ben. And my co-host is Jimmy Trent. Say what's up, Jimmy.
What's up?
And we have with us today two special guests. Angel Flores. He is our producer. I'm actually sitting in his seat today, but we got a little complicated with the sharing that video with you guys today, so we were trying to do something new. I hope you guys got to enjoy that with us. And of course, sitting to his right, my left, is Robert Garcia, aka Mr. RPG. You guys know him in the area as RPG Outdoors, really.
Yeah.
And plugging into the community, in the fishing and hunting community, but very involved with the fishing familia here in Central Texas. So with that being said, Robert has in front of him the transfer of authority, and we're going to have him go ahead and read those off. Will you read those off?
When you say transfer authority, you're talking about the dismantling of Texas Parks and Wildlife and where each entity within that would go and fall under.
Right. I mean, we're going to try to see how this plays out, but a lot of people are wondering, is the Texas Parks and Wildlife going away? Are the Game Wardens going away? What's going to happen? What does this mean? And Robert's going to clarify a little bit of the proposal, and I'll let him dive into that. Robert, you want to go ahead and read a little bit of that?
Yeah, that just means we're going to be scared of two different colors. Instead of being scared of green pants, now you're going to be scared of the tan pants. So whenever a pair of pants shows up, you're going to be scared either way, right?
God help you if you see both.
Well, they do wear tan pants every once in a while, right?
Sometimes they wear no pants.
We know them as green jeans.
Yeah.
We don't ever look, we just run.
Yeah.
All right, so straight from the Austin American Statesman. So according to the bill, the duties are going to fall as follows for the Texas Parks and Wildlife. The General Land Office, regulation of parks, natural areas, wildlife management areas, fish hatcheries, historic sites, and other public land, including bodies of water. So it looks like it's going to transfer land and water. The Department of the Agriculture, they're going to get the native plants, wildlife, conservation or management of native plants or wildlife, including hunting and fishing. Department of Public Safety, they're going to enforce the code. So they're going to be game wardens or water safety, including the operation of vessels, equipment for vessels, and identification, numbering, and titling of vessels. So it sounds like they're going to have their hands full. You know, normally you go get your boat registration somewhere, and now it's all part of the DPS, one-stop shop, instead of having to go to two different areas.
Yeah, we'll get into that, so keep reading.
Yeah, my head's already spinning.
Yeah, so if all this goes through, if the bill is passed, this would take effect on September 1st, 2025.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
So that kind of blows my mind. You just covered kind of four heavy hitters there, and we can go in deep on all the things that Texas Parks and Wildlife Department really does. I mean, from conservation efforts to education to the hunters, hunter education, conservation education, regulation, right? The laws that are already in place, they're out there, enforcing that, to include other law enforcement that they do, right? We all know that I think Texas Parks and Wildlife have pretty much a larger jurisdiction than most other law enforcement in Texas. They are also, I'll say, regulating or managing and processing your boat registration. So everybody has to go register their boat, Texas Parks and Wildlife, and they're managing that. Now, if that went away, a lot of us would be happy, right? I mean, we don't have to pay the registration. We don't have to pay that.
That's the thing. I don't think anything is going away.
Okay. So
that's what we're going to take the dive into.
So that's where I'm getting at. So I know as a boat owner, or I don't have one right now, but everybody's just in between the last boat and the next one, right?
Right.
So as a boat owner, I've had problems with my titles. Have you guys had issues, maybe buying a used boat?
Yeah, that's true. Well, so as we say that, does anyone in here know of whether it's a federal, state, or local government entity that runs perfectly well and doesn't have any hiccups, or any private owned, large business or corporation, whatever have you,
Fair to say,
that
yeah.
runs perfectly?
I mean, even before we get to like the boat issue, that's because not everybody owns a boat. Like me, I'm a simple guy. I do hunting. The first thing that comes to my mind
Simple
is
guy with very
simple guy.
With a
Gucci
lot-
guns.
The first thing that would come to my mind is like when I go pay for my hunting license. I mean, that's the simple dude. Just the
Another
guy that
thing,
goes out-
another thing regulated and managed by Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Exactly. So how, as being the simple guy, saying this the guy that doesn't own a boat, just goes out hunts. When I go get my license, how does it affect me? Because everywhere in that license it says Texas Parks and Wildlife. See, if they do away with that entity, then who gets what fees? Who manages the duck stamp? Who manages my freaking hunting stamp?
That's a good point, and that's another thing is where do those fees go?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's a large revenue.
We know where they go, or we kind of know where they say they go right now. We know where they go, and it goes back into conservation efforts and maybe some youth programs and things like that.
So then it would go to the Department of Agriculture.
Yep.
Well,
Well, depending on who, yeah. I mean, so the bill doesn't, I don't think it's stated exactly. I did read it, but I don't remember seeing exactly who the funds would go to for that. But
conservation.
what about
folks are saying talking to the mic.
Oh, sorry. Too far away.
So, in that aspect, I think going a little bit back here on the boat registration deal, it could simplify it a little bit.
Some things could, yeah.
Your boat trailer has to be registered where you register your vehicles, and then your boat vessel has to be registered at the Parks and Wildlife.
Yep.
Now, will those two come together?
Pain in the ass.
Now it's one-stop shop.
that would be good?
That could be great.
a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he said, he said in the news clip, which people are saying they couldn't hear the news clip, Ben, but we won't play it again. But basically, if you couldn't hear the news clip, Pat Curry was saying that he drawn and submitted this bill as a conversation starter to legislators to make some changes that he didn't agree with. And that's why I was saying that's a hell of a conversation starter. But rather than trying to take it away an entire entity of state, it's a state government foundation there, right? Why wouldn't you just say, hey, can we talk about these issues rather than abolish the whole thing and have it absorbed through other agencies? Like, to me,
He may have had that conversation already, and it didn't go down his avenue.
it didn't until he got into that seat of influence that he's in now, and he's like, okay, we're going to lay it out on the table, and we're going to see what happens.
I mean, these bills coming fast, and to me, it doesn't seem like they've gotten down to the weeds as far as who's going to get what. It just says an overall blanket.
It does. Well, there. From what I understand, there's also a reason. What's the HB number? 3948, I think.
4938.
4938.
4938. So that beginning number, I think, sets the precedence of priority. So 49, that's a very low precedent.
I think I did some research and saw that the priority is like 3,000.
Yeah, it's like
It's low on the
it's a
totem
super
pole.
low. But that's the ones that sneak up on you, right? That's the one. If you don't get it out there, people don't know about it.
Yeah, and they won't vote on it.
They don't vote on exactly. So you got to get the awareness out. Some people may be all about it. There's certain things that are great about it, but there's a lot that's not.
So you bring up a really good point, and I'm going to bring this up now. I mean, there's probably a million places to plug this in, but when you are voting, how important is it to read all the bills that are underlined in a proposal? It could be a proposal for a new street in your city, and you're reading that, and they slide in something else in there, and you're voting. There's another thing. I've gone to vote, and I've seen it where it's like I'm reading it as if I'm voting against it, but really, if you don't read the fine print, you're voting for it.
Well, that's that. I mean, when you go to vote, I think we've probably all seen it. Stand in a voter line, you see somebody that goes in. They know if they're going to vote, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever, but they're going to go straight down the line, like you said.
Which I think we should get rid of in its entirety.
There's 15 to 20 minutes of sitting there reading before you cast that vote, but a lot of people just go straight down the line. So if I had to say anything, obviously, well, I ain't going to say obviously, but yes, I'm probably a Republican, right? Well, Pat Curry himself is a Republican. Yes. So they say that, you're going to vote with your party. No, not always. And not in this case. I personally stand against this. That's just me, though.
So as a constituent, what would you do if you don't want it to go, if you don't want it to pass? Like, what would you do? Is your vote the only way of getting your voice heard, or what else would you do?
This right now, right? Awareness. I know it may reach a lot of people. It may reach 10 people. I don't know. But this is what...
We have 10,000 followers plus. I would hope that it reaches a little bit.
I hope so. But this is what we can do in our little bubble, right? Just a little bit of awareness to it. So when people do hit those voting stations, they're like, all right, where's that abolishment of Texas Parks and Wildlife? I'm voting against that. Don't vote. If you're Republican, don't just vote down, the Republican aisle. Read, like Ben said, read what you're voting on.
And could you contact your representative and, let them know, hey, I know that there's probably, you're getting a lot of votes in or whatever, but we need you to represent us. We are the people. We want you to represent us and not vote for this. We want you to vote against this. Is that something that we can do?
I think it is. And matter of fact, I don't have the numbers. I'm about to look at it. How many hunting and fishing licenses are sold in Texas each year? And that's a gray area of how many people actually hunt and fish in Texas, because a lot of people do without buying. So,
what do you mean? You mean you can hunt and fish without a license here?
I mean, you can, but
I wouldn't recommend it.
Just gotta run from the green pants. That's all.
You just gotta be the you can't be the slowest guy. What is it?
You can't be. You don't have to be the fastest guy. You just gotta be faster than the last guy.
There you go.
That's why you take a slow buddy all the
time.
There
you go. That's why y'all always invite me. Now I get it. So I mean, this is a very we're covering a lot, and there's a lot to unfold with this topic, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because it was an opportunity to basically, one, get us back in the seat and, start talking on a podcast format. And this is a great topic because it affects us in more ways than one. Jimmy and I, we so happen to be outfitters. We guide hunts on where we manage a private land conservation effort.
In partnership with who?
Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Texas Parks and Wildlife.
And they do a lot for us in helping us. That's another thing. They do a lot for many landowners across Texas. And there's going to be the whole thing is we want our land back and we want this and there's not enough public land in Texas. You're right. But who manages the public land that we can access? And who manages and helps landowners manage and build their habitat for wildlife conservation?
But see, that gets into now, if this falls through, you'll be working with the Department of Agriculture.
Which is fine. I mean, it doesn't matter. For me, it's the principle behind this from the outside looking in. I think that there probably is some good that comes out of this. And I don't think that there's going to be a lot of jobs lost. I don't think that there's going to be, people that are put out on the streets because of it. What I think is the principle behind it and once again, in my opinion, Pat Curry is playing whose dick is bigger in this situation. That's just my opinion.
I did do a little bit of reading up on this, and that my little pea-sized brain, whatever I could kind of break it apart and come from it. Now,
bigger than a fish brain.
Right. Now, I did read where they said they're not losing their jobs. So as they break the piece of the pies apart and allocate them into these different departments, those employees would go to that department. So the ones who are enforcing would obviously be part of the DPS now. So it sounds like if he breaks them up, what he's going to end up doing, he's going to say, you guys enforce, so you guys are going to be now working with DPS. You're still in your job, you're still doing your job, but now you're doing it on DPS's tab.
But what does that do holistically? What did you change by doing that?
Absolutely nothing other than just make the line longer for you to get your driver's license at the end of the year.
So in the video,
you already have to get
you're probably going to have a
3-month appointment for it.
You're probably going to have to get your hunting license at the TPS now.
Yeah,
could be. In the video he did with the local news, he named one thing, only one thing that made him want to do this, and he said among others, but he named the one thing, which was the deer breeding and the CWD issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's the straw there that broke the camel's back.
So I'm gonna step in real quick. I heard you say something, and I wanna expand upon that. You said if he does this, if he does that, that's giving one man all the power to make a decision. We as the constituents, you know how to spell it.
I can't even
we
say
as
it.
the people who go and make the votes, it is you who have the power. It is you who have the ability to make a difference. One man's decision is an idea, but our votes is what makes this happen. So it is incumbent upon us to go out there and make these votes and vote for or against. I'm not going to tell you which way to vote. There may be a million reasons why you want this to happen. There may be a million reasons why you don't. I want you to go and make your voice heard by going and doing that at the polls. And right now, it's happening. And like they said, I would have thought this would have taken 10 years to go into effect. They're talking about if this does happen, it could affect us as early as September 1st, which I really need you to go vote because that's the day that I go renew my hunting license every year. And dove season opener is right there. So I need you guys to figure this out.
You're not going to know where to this year.
I know.
So exactly with what you just said. So I looked up how many hunting and fishing licenses are sold in Texas each year. And then on the flip side, how many deer breeders there are. So 3.9 million fishing and hunting licenses in the state of Texas are sold each year.
Wow.
Guess how many deer breeders there are in the state of Texas?
Maybe 1,500.
683, and that was as of September 11th of 2003.
Yeah, I shot high.
So, well, it's there was roughly 1,000 in like 2020 to 2021, but CWD has gotten a lot of people out of it, right? So we all know, we do, and I'm sure a lot of folks listening or that might see this know that in Texas, CWD is not real prominent, but it's here. And with these folks that breed deer on these high fence breeding stations and stuff, they get CWD. The government will come in and dispatch all animals. So there's a lot of money wasted for that. But I don't know, but I'm sure they have insurance.
So let's dive in.
That's where
CWD.
This is where we're at with it. It all boils down to CWD.
CWD. Is this a real thing or is it not?
CWD,
Come on,
chronic waste disease for deer. And that's what it is. It basically turns them in. I think it's an enzyme is what I think it is in the brain. I could be wrong. Somebody will be like, oh, you're stupid. You're right, I am. But I think it's an enzyme that it's something that gets into the brain of the deer, and it makes them basically just go crazy. They don't eat, they don't drink, they don't sleep, they just wander.
It's a deer zombie.
Deer zombie.
Yeah.
So that's not something that you want. You can ask our neighbors up north that it's pretty prominent in, and they'll tell you don't want this. And these
but how are we managing it?
That's the thing. There should have been preemptive. To me, there should have been preemptive things, and I'm sure there was. Maybe deer shouldn't become. I mean, if you're a deer breeder, you can only have native local deer. Mate, I don't know, but I'm just saying that there wasn't nothing that was preemptive to stop this from getting into the state of Texas. So it wasn't native here. It was definitely brought in.
Yeah. I mean, there's a simple answer to this, and I keep moving back. But we should have managed this like we would manage a mad cow disease. It falls under the Department of Agriculture. So we just should, I mean, that piece we should, I mean, I got it. The Department of Wildlife should handle all of it except for that piece because that falls under agriculture. I understand that because you were literally breeding deer and farming deer like you would cattle. Mm-hmm. So
you are when you're high fencing it.
So yeah, those
exactly
those deer for the breeders are considered livestock. So why not just move that to Department? Why disband and abolish the entire thing? Why not just move, the breeders to Department of Agriculture?
And I mean, you can still keep it on the Department of Wildlife, but I mean, when it comes to something like that, bring in the Department of Agriculture and just say, look, okay, we've got this, you handle it, because you're the subject matters in this stuff, or should be at least. In my opinion, but
well, that's a great point, and you just kind of hit the nail on the head. Maybe that is a great reason to go that route. Again, there are pros and cons to this, and we're talking about it. So I like that you brought that up because
the boat registration that Robert talked about.
Another great.
I don't think the numbers are. I just did some Googling while you guys were talking about this, and I'm going to give you guys these numbers. And these numbers are kind of, to me, it's already shocking. It's like this number is not great enough to go to this extent to dismantle this.
Yeah.
So since 2002, Texas has documented 795 cases of chronic waste disease. Okay, with the most recent case being reported in a white-tailed deer, May 16, 2024.
Do we
May
remember
16,
what happened
2023.
around?
Did it happen to say what county that was in?
It doesn't really. It goes into a lot of detail. It says total cases that have been reported are 795. Recent cases in 2023 were 181 cases in 2023. It doesn't give me any farther back date, so we can't see if it's climbing or not. But this is the majority that were white-tailed deer. There was a few in mule deer, elk, and captive breeding facilities.
Now, playing devil's advocate, though, if I personally was a deer breeder and I had some of those deer worth tens of thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
I would hope that you would carry insurance on an asset like that. But they're acting like they don't. I don't know.
But what's
if they
happening with-
do, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say because it falls into what's going on with the chickens. They're killing all the chickens because some of them are getting the bird flu.
Yeah,
and they're taking out whole farms.
It's
Because
the
of that.
exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
If anyone in here was a deer breeder, would you be on the side you're on right now, or would you be on Pat Curry's side?
I think I'd be on the side I'm on. Think about it. You're a breeder, and just because you have one case, there's a possibility you're out of business now.
Yeah.
I mean, that fast.
But that's a liability that you, as a breeder, you take upon that.
Correct.
Not every other outdoorsman, outdoors woman that's in the state. That's you as a person.
Yeah.
You're taking that liability as a breeder.
yeah, I'm guessing they have insurance. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't if
I would think that they would
Cattle
have
ranchers
to.
have insurance.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at for years and years when they see a sick cow or something, they go out, they take care of it right then and there. It's done. You know, the management was done. I'll throw one more in there for you guys just so you can, dismantle this great thing that has been working for us for years. And I'm going to give you guys the number of cases that they have tested. So this is going to give us a measure of the magnitude of what Texas Parks and Wildlife can handle at the moment instead of let's run it across and just divvy it up. So the majority of the cases that they took care of, they have tested. Let me find my number here. I looked up and then I lost my place. But 302,360 captive and free-range deer since 2012 have been tested.
Not 3,000, 300?
302,000. So you mean to tell me that they're not doing their job?
I think Ben and I
mean, amongst everything else, 302,000 tests.
I feel like Ben and I guided half of those deer that were shot.
It was a lot.
That
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. That's a lot of deer, though.
I mean, think about it. Just look at the man hours that it's going to take to do 302,000 tests. Yeah, granted, it's back from 2012, but the man hours to go out there, like where you guys go out and hunt. It's not like I'm going to go in my backyard. I'm driving an hour and 15 minutes from my house just to get to your cabin. That's a lot of man hours to do that. And if you're handling that many cases, and for me, if it's only 795 cases, that's not enough number to say it's out of control. You can't do this job. I need to divvy it up and move it.
Yeah,
well, we're gonna
you're
want
right.
to get on top of it, right? So we're gonna want to do something about it, and that's what they're doing. And I don't know if you saw that picture of that hundreds of deer at that one, the largest breeder in Texas last year. They
It
showed
was sad. It was devastating.
Trophy
it
bucks,
was horrible.
ranging in the 200s. I mean, just I don't know, hundreds of them, and they had to euthanize all those deer because of maybe one or two that were affected by CWD. They weren't all affected, but that land or that breeder and his business was his or hers was affected by that. So again, are we trying to get rid of the regulation? Are we trying to, because I mean, let's just call it what it is.
You're
This is
trying
a
to-
Texas lawmaker who has a very heavy hand in whitetail breeding.
He's trying to move the goalposts for his benefit.
yeah, he's got a vested interest in this.
Yes, 100%. There's a conflict of interest there, in my opinion. But it's also, I mean, as a businessman, it's smart, right? I mean, if you have the means and ability to succeed, and it's legal, I ain't saying do anything illegal, but when you start taking, and I don't know that it would take from either anybody that's wanting to be in the outdoors or the employees and staff members of Texas Parks and Wildlife, but it definitely has a big impact on them. Not only that, how many millions of dollars of state tax dollars are going to go to this? You know what I mean? How much money is it going to cost to do this?
It'll probably cost way more money to enforce this or apply this bill than it will. I don't think this is a case of saving tax dollars.
No, it's not a case of saving tax dollars, but it will waste. I mean, shit, how much did it cost to change just Fort Hood to Fort Cavazos?
Yeah, because
imagine changing, you're disrupting the entire
community,
right. Outdoor community right here.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep your deer and not worry about the CWD issue.
Not to mention the revenue that it makes for the entire state during hunting season. I mean, dove season alone brings in money from all across the nation.
It also takes a lot of money.
It's
from us.
Yeah.
Well, just think about it. Just renaming just the front gate here for Fort Cavazos, over from Fort Hood to Fort Cavazos, must have taken thousands of dollars. Can you imagine renaming all these vehicles, this whole state entity?
Yeah, it's insane.
Patches for the Game Wardens, all their uniforms, everything that has Texas Park and Wildlife.
We don't need no stinking patches.
I mean, even the badges. There you go. We don't need no stinking badges.
So Chris Ramsey from Dovecourt,
yep.
He said they are only required to test 2 deer, and of those test positive, then they take the entire ranch.
Wow. And
I'm going to guess it doesn't matter ranch size, because even in the news bit, Pat Curry was talking about if a deer tests positive for CWD within a 5-mile radius, it's impacted, whether it's public, private, deer breeder or just low fence deer. So that's a huge impact for a lot of people. And I agree with him. Something needs to be done, but abolishment of Texas Parks and Wildlife, which in my opinion is a great division, like be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Let's figure out a solution here, not just let's change names of shit and call it better because it's going to make my wallet bigger.
Well, here's the thing is that like you said, there's so much to unfold. Right? There's so many different people that it affects. There's so many different aspects of the hunting and fishing, conservation, education, law enforcement, everything that you talked about that are being proposed. The thing is I think about how important it is to read between the lines, because there's going to be those voters who are like, man, I don't want to pay for a license. I'm going to vote against it. But how else will that affect you? And that's so important because I agree with you. There's things that I agree with this and there's things that I don't agree. But if in its totality, how will it impact?
When you say don't agree with some of the laws, Texas Parks and Wildlife laws and policies?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you're saying? You don't agree with all of them, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's normal. I think everybody here could agree with that. I mean, I'm sure there's probably game wardens that are like, yeah, I don't agree with that, but I have to enforce it. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. I don't think that there's a single person in the state of Texas that agrees with everything they do.
Yeah. I mean, it's like any laws or anything, when state inspections went away, it was kind of like, oh, cool or whatever.
Yeah, I could go get my registration.
Did they go away?
There.
Did state inspections go away?
Oh, yeah.
State inspections went away. But now they're out there freaking enforcing tint and stuff like that because they got nothing else to go after.
And I'm like, being charged for it. You realize that
you still got to register your vehicle.
Your tags have gone up just a little bit.
But you still got to register your vehicle.
You get charged for everything in Texas.
Still included in there.
Yeah. It's so the cost of the inspection was still included into the registration.
It's still taking your money even though it's not happening.
I pay for every axle on a trailer when I go over a toll road. I pay for every. It's like whoever says that in Texas, there's no state taxes and there's no this and that. Like we pay for everything else. If you think about like all the other, how many fishing licenses do you have to fish just in this community?
Yeah. Not only, look at property taxes. They're outrageous in Texas.
Getting a little off topic here, but it's just the reality of all these things compiled into one little proposal. But again, it's an idea. It's a proposal. It is up to us to go out there and vote and, contact people and let them know, like, hey, I want your vote. If you agree with me, let's go vote and let's go make this happen. Or let's go...
If this came to me,
stop it.
If this came to me as an operator, throwing in the military background there, I would just say like, there's so many stuff in here that doesn't make sense. That we haven't gotten down the weeds. Like there's certain things like your boats, for example. Like you mentioned boats. You can hand that over to the Department of Vehicles, because that is a water vessel. It's almost, you already got the trailer to register with them, so just register a boat. Right. You can take that away from them. the agriculture can handle the part of the CWD, whatever. So, I mean, there's things you could take from this, but this is just too much, too fast without going down.
September 1st.
Yeah,
I feel like it's not transparent enough.
Yeah.
Like they just threw it out there and like vote on it, pass it. But there's
But he
not
said,
enough,
I
there's
want
not
full
enough-
transparency
He
in his
did say
bid.
that.
Yeah.
But it's not fully transparent. We don't know where the money's going. We don't know how they're going to change it.
this is-
Now, are your hunting laws going to change? That's the other thing. I think a little bit of fear for me is the unknown. It's like,
True.
he's going to have full control. We're talking full control.
You already have to be a lawyer to even hunt or fish in the state.
To understand the laws.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. If he's not full transparent, that could dictate the whole way we hunt, the whole way we grew up learning how to go out, how to harvest. You know, it's gonna make such a big wave.
It can
because it's
affect
not
it can affect
transparent.
seasons. It could affect, timing. It could affect all that, which we've already talked about and said, there's some things that need to change, right?
There's too many. There's too many questions.
Who needs a
It's-
refill?
Yeah, it's
I'll
just
take one.
too much stuff.
And now, if he's talking about allowing us to shoot an extra buck a year, maybe take. The
Oh, then
bill
I'm
up
all
to,
for
like,
it. I'm all
30
for
per
it. I'll go
person,
ahead.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm all in. I think that's how we
So-
settle this right now. Is like, hey, how many bucks can I take and this and that,
But
Or
that's-
how many dove? Let's get more than 15 on a.
But see,
I know
this doesn't
Dove.
get into
I know
that. This
Chris
is
is gonna
just
kill
like
me.
hey.
Chris is gonna kill me
Yeah,
because
Chris-
his dove cord has 15 tethers.
his
Hey, if we
hands
get
started
16
sweating.
or 18, Chris,
Let's start talking about some of the things we don't
I'll
agree
have a
with,
few more
with Texas
empty
Parks and Wildlife.
tethers.
Like, we don't agree with everything they do. So what are some things you don't agree with?
That's a good question. I mean, I've never, when I see a public authority or something like that, I really don't question them. I mean, I got it. There is
I
something.
think that's ingrained in us
Yeah,
as,
just- follow what they say. You usually get the manuals that you're supposed to read on as far as.
But as you read some of those, or you see, okay,
Hey, real quick.
what you hunt mainly down south, right?
Yeah.
Do they have an antler restriction down there?
No.
Okay, no antler restriction.
Well,
So-
like you're talking about like Ford Cavazos where you have to be the spread needs to be outside the ears.
right.
No.
So that, for example, something I totally disagree with because I mean Ben and I, some of our bucks down there, we may have 6-year-old deer.
They can score well, but they're not outside.
They never got outside. They go up.
Yeah.
They don't go out. Some deer go out. Some deer go up. But it's not a legal deer to take. For us, it is on
MLD.
On MLD, but for
And who
anybody else in the county,
manages the MLD?
Well,
Texas Parks and Wildlife.
exactly. Well, then you get into a question like, now how do we, go to the Department of Wildlife and say, look, this doesn't make sense. How do we change that to make this?
So you as a also there's also this aspect of it. So Angel was a senior officer in the military, in the Army, and I'm sure there was plenty of times that you approved an op ord or whatever it was, or you gave an order that the private down there he disagreed with, but he didn't see the big picture. He didn't know what you knew.
But see, that's where we get to the leadership. We explain to his what would you call it?
Subordinates.
Subordinates or his supervisors
Yeah.
or whoever's his first line supervisor and say, look, this is what we're trying to get at. I know, and we used to do this back then. We kind of went away with where we checked, did you explain this to the private so that he knows what I know?
Yeah.
That we went away from that. And this is
Kind of the same thing.
yeah, this is an op order that to
Shared
me that I
understanding.
would kick back and say, look, there's so much stuff here that if you get down to the weeds, we get more questions. Like we'd spend like 2 or 3 hours just
To me,
tearing this apart.
you have the whole cake here, but you don't have what's in there. You don't have the ingredients.
Exactly. And that's what I've always seen. Like, dude, this is so many questions. Just in the first, like, Department of Agriculture. Okay, what's the Department of Agriculture going to handle? Like, okay, when I go into the line, like, when the game warden comes to you guys, I have to check your licenses after somebody's killed a deer, right? Check the MLD, the registration, all that. He's literally going from the DPS side of the house into another, somebody's other,
Crossing boundaries.
yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, how do they manage that? That would be one of the questions. Like, how do I go and say, look, hey, I'm going into this land which falls under your provision?
So you're going to have a 3 to 5 year. Say this bill passes, you're going to have a 3 to 5 year issue of the agriculture, the law enforcement side of it, the livestock side of everybody saying, I don't know.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
pointing fingers at each other.
Yeah, like how does this fall under him and not under me when I'm supposed to be doing this?
Is the system broke now? Does it need to be revised?
I think if this goes into effect, it might break the system until they find out how to manage this, or where's the boundary between everybody's job or everybody's, I guess whatever they're doing, whatever the Department of Agriculture is going to handle, whatever the DPS is going to handle. How do you keep from stepping over that boundary?
What if the departments that we're talking about are maybe trying to spread this, authority, right? And responsibility and regulation, they'll handle this. What if they just got involved with Texas Parks and Wildlife and said, hey, this is how we advise you to handle this. And this could save a lot of the problems that you're having in that department.
But that takes all the departments sitting down and talking to each other and working out all this stuff. So how long is that going to take? This is coming like fast.
Well, from my experience in, the agency that I work for, sometimes the left don't talk to the right.
Exactly.
And they're sitting in a cubicle right next to each other. I can imagine departments across Texas, which is a lot of land to cover, that it takes a lot of time and money, right, to schedule, to coordinate, to build the attendance, to get the right people in the right places and do all those things just to get a conversation started. Maybe this is a positive thing. Maybe we're getting a conversation started and across the agencies in Texas.
And to be fair, he said that was the goal. That was the whole reason he did this. So to be fair, maybe that's all it is. But to draw this up and have it go in effect if it's passed on September 1st.
Yeah, you can't have everybody talk after the fact. I mean, if this goes into effect and then you're having a discussion afterwards, and you're just going to have problems, and you're looking for problems.
So let me ask you this: how realistic do we think this is? Like, do you think there's more people in Texas that believe this is going to happen, or is there more people in Texas that think there ain't no way in hell this is going to happen?
So it's hard to say, and I don't want to make this political or anything, but this is a political matter on a lot of.
Why don't we ask the followers and the viewers, like, do you feel like this is something that is gonna happen, and you're like, hey, it's inevitable, it's gonna happen, or do you feel like, man, there ain't no way this is gonna happen? Let us know in the comments what you think. Let us know in the comments what you agree with, what you don't agree with.
So we have a lot of comments from a post you made yesterday on Facebook, right?
All right.
Let me see if I can find some of those, and we'll see.
I mean, in my opinion, I'm the person that would think, oh, this is never going to happen. No way in hell. But it takes people to vote to keep that from happening. If I'm just thinking it and not acting on it, then we have a problem there.
I almost feel like this is just geared to fit his narrative and narrative only. It's hunting and fishing has been, most of our lives for forever. That's all we know.
Well, Texas Parks and Wildlife has been around for about 60 years,
Right.
in itself. So past all our lifetime, and as long as we've been around, we've been abiding by their regulations and their rules or whatever. But you're right, though. I mean,
but have you ever once heard Texas Parks and Wildlife say, we cannot handle, we need help? This is way past beyond our reach. We need to divide it up.
Yeah,
this is something that
but I haven't heard him I haven't heard him complain about it in a way of saying it the way you did. But we know quite a few game wardens, and those guys are worked hard.
Absolutely.
And there's only maybe one per county, two per county, depending on per capita or whatever. But those dudes are worked hard. The biologists that are out here, they have entire regions of the state. And there may be one or two of those for entire regions. And they're working with landowners. They're working on public land, they got office work, they got,
right.
They need help.
But if we put you in this position, Jimmy, and this is what we're talking about, it's the fact that they're undermanned, they're understaffed.
They are.
Okay, if I came to you with a say, look, these guys, the regions for them is entirely too much for them. Would you break this apart or do it like this, or would you propose, what, this guy that's running this region, we can use two more there? What would be easier? What would be more feasible financially?
You have the infrastructure already there. You have the people in place. You have is there some reform that could be done? Some revisions? Sure. Agreed 100%.
Well, you just brought up a good point about the biologists. So if they were, per se, take the biologist section of the house, send it over to the Department of Agriculture, keep the game warden side of the house under well, I guess the DPS, then how would that work? Would the Department of Agriculture help abolish this? Is it shorthanded? And would the game warden be assisted by the DPS? Or or they're still on their own, but just hey, now I'm wearing a different hat, or my boss is different, and I report to a different boss now.
Yeah, I'm not. So what I wanted to do before we done this, I didn't have time, is I wanted to look up other states how they have, because I think some of the states up northwest, like Montana, Wyoming, and things like that, I think a lot of their states run something like this. I think I could be totally wrong, but I wanted to see that, compare it. Because it could be, and everything that we're talking about right here is speculation, because like you said, there's not transparency, and we have nothing but speculations to go off of. So that's all that we're doing based off our experiences, our opinions. And when you come onto the local news and you say, I have this one issue with CWD, and I happen to be a deer breeder, well, that tells me that you're trying to do this for your interests and not the 3.9 million people that buy hunting and fishing license every year.
No, you're right. I mean, and this is like a blanket op order. For us, it would be just a blanket op order. Just like a Frago, I guess you would call it. Yeah. Be ready for this.
I think this is probably equivalent to a Frago. Exactly.
Well, based off of my experience of living in Montana, I probably spent 4 seasons of Yellowstone. I think, based off of what they are...
this dude ain't no John Dutton. Take his ass to the train station.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're all agreeing that we're going to take this bill to the train station.
Yeah. I mean, seems like it. I mean, this is just too much, too fast. Like I mentioned, it's just a blanket op order or blanket order or whatever. Blanket, what do you call this? A bill. A blanket bill that hasn't gone down to the eaches or what the powers are going to be divided, how everybody's going to do their stuff, or and
I wish I had more information I could read on, and specifically since this is kind of the light is pointing towards the CWD part of it. I think that's kind of like the main reason why we're trying to reform this. How has CWD affected some of these breeders? You know, possibly if you got your ranch and you're breeding deer, and there's, 4 more breeders around you, but you're the one that's infected in the middle, how is it affecting these guys around them? Are they saying, hey, because this guy's infected, now you have to X your population, you have to do this to your population, is it costing them money? Are they losing part of their breeding? Do they put them on a hold, say, hey, you got to test for, a year, and they have to be clean before you can actually sell or whatever it is, hunt, how is it affecting the people around that person or that ranch that has a CWD case?
Yeah, and if it's all about the CWD, and which I think it is in my opinion, but that's my opinion, I would just handle that by itself, not completely dismantle a whole organization over something that...
What if you just got into a position of influence, though, and you had a run-in with somebody that you didn't like of what they said and how they put it down to you, and then you're like...
Well, that's fine.
Now I'm here.
You could take the CWD issue and just hand it over to, like, you know what? I'm taking it away from you. I'll propose a bill to take the CWD portion of it, hand it over to the Department of Agriculture, which they handle. Like I said, mad cow disease, bird flu, whatever all those diseases that affect, farms or ranches, stuff like that, and just hand it over to them.
It'd be really cool. So, like we said, I mean, he's basically local, 45 minutes away. How cool would it be if we could just get him to come on and be like, all right, let me explain this.
Yeah.
Let me tell you my side and where I'm coming from.
Come be transparent with us.
Come be you want to talk about transparency? Let's put it out there. Let's see it. That would be awesome. And I think that it probably would shed some light on some stuff that we're talking about, to where we would be like, all right, man, I got you. All right, man, I see where you're coming from. But with this, like you said, pure speculation. We got nothing but assumptions and what we think of our opinions.
Yeah.
And it's all we got to go off of.
It
and
feels
right
like
now,
a jam it down your throat versus let me propose. It doesn't feel like a proposal. It feels like this is my decision. I want to move on this.
But see, this is dangerous too, because nobody votes on it. Nobody pays attention. It'll get by until it affects us after it's already passed.
To me,
well, look what's happening around the nation right now. I mean, with Doge in effect and everything.
I think that's got a big impact on
it. It is definitely...
This is a Texas Doge step?
It kind of is. I mean, we are in a world of...
I'll pull up an article. It says it is.
We are in a world of do more with less, right? We need to cut funding. We need to save money. We need to do all that. And in order to do that, the first knee-jerk reaction is to divvy up more work to less people. And how do you do that without, separating and delegating authority?
And
right?
you bring up a good point. If that's the factor that he's doing it to kind of cut costs and all that, then bring that up. But don't mention CWD as the primary. Yeah, the primary. The thing I'm most concerned about, because then people are going to question it. I know you have a vested interest in this, so now they're going to say, I know what's passed.
There is an article too where he says that he fears Texas Parks and Wildlife and TAHC. I'm not sure who that is. Where he said they've been weaponized and their goal is the end of deer breeding in Texas. So is that something that why are we breeding a animal?
200 years ago, I'd be all for it.
Why are we breeding an animal for it? It is for consumption at the end of the day, but not for deer breeders. It's all about antler growth and the amount of monetary value that huge antler growth can hold, right?
It's a business. It's profit.
It's a business. It's a profit. So should we be, some would say that we should just end deer breeding altogether and go to low fence, free range animals altogether.
I wouldn't go.
I'm not against it. I'm not saying that I'm against it, but I know a lot of people are. To each their own.
Yeah, I wouldn't go against. I mean, if they're breeding it, that's fine. I wouldn't take that away. But
now, if that breeding is bringing in a deadly disease for that species, should it be ended then? Because then there goes your native population.
Well, it's the same thing as raising chickens and raising cattle. I mean, that's why if you just want to do with just take that part out of the Texas Parks and Wildlife, hand it over to the Department of Agriculture.
I agree. I'm with you.
I agree.
Just
if that's your concern, then fight that battle.
Because they're livestock already at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. So why completely nuke a whole entity over here, the Department?
Because damn it, I'm in this seat of influence now, and you piss me off. So
I'm guessing that's what happened.
You.
Yeah, I'm going to take you out because you did this to me, and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm. But you got to think too, how many other parts of conservation that it impacts. You're talking about look at what all Texas Parks and Wildlife does for the fishing and hunting community. I just named a few earlier. I'm going to change. We've been focusing a lot on CWD, and that's no doubt a huge part of this proposal. We could all agree, but Texas Parks and Wildlife single-handedly almost helps the fisheries, hatcheries, all those things that we also take part in when hunting season is already, that's not even accessible to us during parts of the season. And I mean, I like to think I hunt and fish, but the truth is I spend half a year in the woods and the other half I'm looking for going fishing. Right?
Yeah, half the year in woods, half the year on water.
So how do we explain that? How do the Texas Parks and Wildlife, how do they, take care of the hatcheries and all that? Where do they get their money to support that?
So all that money comes from, I won't say all that money. A lot of that money comes from the licenses that we purchase to fish and hunt. With that, a lot of that money goes to, for instance, in our community alone, just in this central Texas area, they're moving catfish, they're moving trout, they're putting those in streams, they're putting those in ponds, they're stocking those things. And that gives a lot of people in this area an opportunity to get a special species that isn't normally introduced to that water unless it's done by professionals.
Well, they just put a lot of bass in Stillhouse too, that whole Lunkers program,
exactly.
And everything that they've done. But I think a lot of license, and then there's a lot of state funded money.
Exactly. So how, if you do this, if this goes into effect, how do you divvy up that money now? How would it affect the bringing fish into a local pond? Now,
I can tell you this: there's
how's they going to get their money if you do away with the Texas Park and Wildlife, which they were the ones that handled your license?
We don't care about fish, just big deer. That's it.
That's what it seems
killing
like.
me because I got so many questions that we could probably be talking about this for hours.
Another question for me on this is, okay, say this were to happen and say the transparency becomes clear. Say it says, okay, I understand this. Now you've got 3 different entities that are supposed to do the job of one. Okay. How do you think that would go across? We just got, Texas just got one of our newest, greatest highland reservoirs. We got Boys Dark.
Yeah, Bodark Lake.
Which it's basically made of all of the best fishing there is in Texas. Bam, in your face. It's available to everybody. Awesome. How would these guys be able, in y'all's opinion, would they be able to take control and continue to do this? Now, this is just a small part. We're talking hunting. It's a small part. How many species do you hunt? How many species do you fish? Fish is a little bit, I feel like fishing is a little bit bigger. It's saltwater and freshwater.
Absolutely.
We've got hatcheries out on the saltwater that are hatching, different type of clams for us to consume, stuff like this. Like, this is a big undertaking for me to come in and be like, we're going to take this, we're going to divvy it up, I want control of it. That is a large amount of weight to take and distribute and control that's been running on its own, a decently oiled machine for years. I mean, could this end all of this? Could this be the last time we see a new Highland Reservoir Lake be built for us? Could this say, hey, these clams aren't native to us, we were just farming them for you, they're out the door?
I hope
we
not.
don't want to deal with it.
I mean, like I said, I don't think it has a snowball's chance in hell of going through, but also, like I said, AOC got reelected, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So Chris Ramsey brought up another good point. He said Curry's a breeder in Mexico, not Texas. So I did not know that, and that just but it doesn't mean that he's not looking at bringing a breeding operation into Texas,
Bringing some bad hombres.
Yeah.
I was talking
bad hombres.
I was talking to my buddy about this yesterday. Like, the deer up here are completely different from the ones in South Texas, and I can vouch for that because the ones down there are a lot bigger, a lot rougher. I mean, just their.
You talking about how many mesquite thorns are in the skin when we go to clean them?
I'm just saying the animals down there, and most of them, some of them come from Mexico. They're bigger, and I'm telling you, there's a difference between the deers here in Central Texas and the deers back in South Texas. And
They're
a lot of
bigger?
them they're bigger. They're bred a little bit different.
When you say bigger body, bigger
bodies, bigger bodies, bigger necks, bigger racks off the get go. And the most I've seen whenever I've hunted, and they're usually outside the ear span, So there's a difference. I'm telling you right now, there's a difference.
Yeah, and that goes to say with like the regions and the areas, and the resources. One thing we're not even talking about yet: resource management. Resource management is another thing the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department help landowners, private and public, in how to basically manage the resources and the habitats of those areas so those deer can thrive, get larger racks, get, bigger bodies. All that stuff is being handled right now, and I think they're doing a great job. I know that there's people in certain areas of Texas that would disagree, and that's why we're having this conversation. At the end of the day, we just wanted to kind of spark a conversation, right? And it's a big conversation to have right now, especially for the outdoorsmen in Texas. This is something you really got to look into. We urge you to go read the bill, get the details, find out what you're voting for, and find out if that bill has any other things that you don't agree with before you go and vote for it. And if you do vote for it, I hope it works out for you. But I can tell you this. We didn't think that the government was going to downsize the way it did in such a large time, and it has. We didn't think that jobs were going to go away in the government, and they have. Can this affect the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department? I think if this bill were to be passed, I think it can. And I think that right now they're saying
if it was passed, it would abolish it.
Yeah. I don't think the jobs would go away. They'd just be under a different boss, it's just more bureaucracy that you're adding to it. They've already, the department, Texas Parks and Wildlife has already been there for I don't know how many years, and it's established, and you're just going to try to dismantle it.
I have heard on my research that they said that the employment would not be abolished or go away.
Yep.
They're basically going to take, I think they said we've got about 500 warden officers. So basically they would take those jobs, and whatever department they went to, then those folks would go to that. So not so much as far as losing jobs, but...
And you believe that?
Well...
But if that's the case,
transparency.
If that's the case, what is the point of doing this then?
I think we all agree.
That's why
let's
we're
go
here.
around the room and just basically state your opinions if you want. I'll start.
Let's Yeah, keep talking. I got to take a bathroom break.
Yeah,
and then
I'm gonna take
filibuster for me.
There you go. All right, so here's where I stand on this whole bill. All right, without going too deep, I work for the government, and the government has drawn down. They said jobs weren't going to go away, and jobs have gone away. They said that we weren't going to affect certain agencies. Those agencies have been affected. I've been working military, government employee, all those things. I've been doing that long enough to understand that it isn't about me. It's about I serve the warfighter, and whatever's best for the warfighter, I'm all in, right? This is kind of the same thing. Whatever's best for the constituents, I'm all in, because when you vote, a lot of people vote for me. How does it affect me? I think we got to think about how does it affect most. And that's really what we need to get into when we go out there and vote, because you got family, you got a mom, you got a sister, you got a brother, you got an aunt, you got an uncle. How does it affect them? How does it affect your cousins who are in the oil field? How does it affect your cousins who are in the outdoors industry? How does it affect all those? All those things matter when you're going to vote. This is a topic where we're covering the tough subjects about how does this affect most, right? And we talk about the different agencies that, one, they'll be probably overworked in the initiation of this, right? I mean, there's going to be so much pain for the people who are completely oblivious to certain departments, and now they have to learn this new thing. And then there's going to be the introduction to people who are in the certain agency that are going to go to different departments, and they're going to have to cover things that they weren't covering before, or maybe fall under different. And we've all had to change hats and change shirts. We've all done that. But I think what this boils down to is we are in a time where drawdowns are necessary. We're having to do more with less. And I think it's really what it boils down to. I do think that we've tackled a lot on CWD because, I mean, we all kind of agree that this individual who has made it most public about the bill proposal has a vested interest in that department, and I think that is a conflict of interest. I think we all need to kind of unfold all the layers and talk about all the things that we covered today, and we didn't even cover them all. Nope. But you really got to read the bill.
This could take days.
Yeah, read the bill, educate yourself on that, and maybe educate others and tell them, like, hey, you know, when you vote for this, you're voting for this as well. And then how does that affect you? And think about the different businesses, the industries, the revenue in Texas, all those things. And if we start diving into how lobbying affects this too, it's no secret politicians are kind of urged by other people and donators and all that stuff that they're kind of leaning one way or the other. So you kind of got to get all that and wrap all that up and make your decision, make your educated vote, get out there, contact your people and say, hey, you know, I vote against this, and make your voice heard. Jimmy, you got something to share.
Well, I just wanted to tie in with what you're saying. Chris Ramsey again, he just texted in or commented in, and one, he says 5 bullet points before y'all go off air.
Nice.
And we will, send those over, Chris. But one of them is the public doesn't vote on House bill, the Senate does. So that's true. So it's all about awareness to getting this out there for you to lobby and say, like, hey, this is BS, or maybe it's great, whichever side of the fence you're on it. But yeah, Chris is right.
So this is the thing. This bill benefits the 1%. If we're talking about it, the small portion of people here in Texas. So in my opinion, it's a no-go. You know, if you ask me, this is a no-go. As far as me being a hunter, does not make sense at all. Even though it might benefit, you know, certain things, we all know, in my opinion, we all know what it's focused on. It's CWD. It's like you mentioned, you did something to me, I don't agree with it, so I'm going to take you down. So and that's what it boils down to. But to propose something like this is kind of drastic, and I disagree with it. So
when you get into the political world, which I've never been in, but I do try to keep up with it best I can. When you get somebody that's new in, right, and he was just in November, you want to make some big moves. You want to make your name out. You know, you want to get it out there. And I think this is his way of doing it.
But do you? Because
some I don't.
so
I mean,
most of us have been in leadership positions and senior leadership positions. You typically get in that role and kind of observe and watch what's happening and what's working and what's not working. And then we make our move on what we want to keep and what we want to get rid of. I do believe that in this case, it's a lot too soon. And Angel hit the head on that. And I'll ask you, as a retired senior leader in the military, you know, do you agree with that, what I just said, or disagree?
Well, I agree with you. This is too much, too fast. There's so much you could go into. I mean, you could literally take portions of this and still kind of propose a bill that's kind of within this realm. But what you're asking us is you're basically taking a flamethrower to a freaking bunny's den here and just torching everything. It's a whole entity here that you're willing to tear apart without knowing how everybody's going to work, you know? There's nothing here that says, hey, well, the Department of Agriculture is going to handle this. The DPS is going to handle this. There's nothing here that says other than, yeah, we're just going to hand it over to this, and this, and this. Hey, there's so much stuff.
It's much more complicated.
Yeah, it's much more complicated than what you're reading here. And if I read this and this is the bill that I'm actually going to vote on, I'll be like, what the heck, you know?
I'm going to agree and disagree with you. No, you don't want to get your name out there that fast, but sometimes you do. But you want to pick your battles. And to me, that is not the hill I would want to die on, right?
You're going to be known as a guy that went down the hill really quick.
Real quick, and you just got in November. So this is the hill, like it's out there and it's proposed. It's in the media. It's out there. This is the hill he will die on, whether politically, not figuratively. So if it goes through,
or he could be a hero. He could be a hero and be famous for making all these changes and doing many.
I hope nothing but the best for him, and I hope if it does go through, I hope it's for the better and we're all wrong. I really hope that way.
Yeah, we hold no ill will against this guy, but it's just too much. And you're right. Are you willing to die on the hill for this?
I feel like this is a very minuscule approach to, like you say, you're showing off your power, but the minuscule scale of what this that you can vote on has a completely different demographic of folks.
Yes.
And those folks speak loud.
Yes.
Yeah, they're louder than us.
And you hit something earlier about who actually makes the decisions. The Senate's supposed to work for us, you know, and we're supposed to make votes and we're supposed to make our votes heard. And I think the reality is a lot of times these bills get kind of swept under the rug and they get fit in, you know, legislature without. The votes are going to be there whether we read them or not.
Right.
Am I right?
I mean, it's going to get voted on by the Senate, but who is the Senate talking for? That's the thing.
That's the thing is we are the
our
constituents that are supposed to be making our voices heard, and you can contact your representative and you can make your voice heard, and you can do that in the many different formats. But it is imperative that we all voice our opinions, and that's what we're doing here. But I think in this room, I think we kind of do we agree or disagree? Do we kind of feel on the fence? I mean, I feel like I'd rather leave it the way it is. That's where I stand.
That's where I stand too. And I think in all fairness, I think the guy probably has good intentions.
Right.
I think the intentions are probably good. I think it was kind of drawn about the wrong way. Mm-hmm. And like I said in the beginning, from the outside looking in, the perspective is that you're in it for your wallet. And that's what it looks like. And that's just based off what he has said. But I think that there probably is good that's in it.
Yeah, you can take some good out of it and work that piece out of it. But don't throw everything in.
Yeah, holistically, I think it's bad. I think there's good in it. I don't think that there's ill intention, but it just comes across as bad.
Yeah, you can take this and build some talking points off of it and do another bill specifically for that piece, that talking point.
Matter of fact, like if we could somehow ever speak with him, like I could be on his side.
Yeah, I believe he would probably enlighten us on a lot of different things that we're not seeing from our perspective right now. Yeah, it is perspective, right? It's from our point of view.
It's the transparency that he talked about that we don't see, though. So we only have room for assumptions and speculation.
That was going to be my response on this. It's like I'm not with him, but I'm with him. In other words,
sure, yeah,
you have valid points.
Yeah. Yep.
Now prove it to me. Prove me wrong, or again, transparency. Show me why we want to do this, and then I could possibly jump on the wagon with you. But just to say, hey, here's what I want to do, and you only made one main point, the CWD.
There's two key points, though.
Refresh everything and how it's going to flow down the hill to us.
Actually,
and then you may have more of our votes. You may have more of our opinions. Say, okay, I believe in what you're saying, but at this point, like you were saying again, and I reiterate, it's like you're trying to jam something so fast that is so vague that you want us to make a decision on what we don't know. If I tell you, Ben, this truck's got a flat tire, but that one, it's got 4 full ones. Are you going to take the full one, or are you going to fix the flat? You don't know what's wrong with the one that has the full tires. At the end of the day, speak your piece on it.
Yep.
Tell us what your full plan is, and then you might get everybody's vote.
To me, there's three key pieces that right now turn me against this. One is the CWD, beating a dead horse there.
Mm-hmm.
2 is he's new in the seat, and he's trying to make waves, and he's trying to make a name, right? So, and 3 is there's quite a few articles out there that talk about how he's wanting this to be part of the Texas Doge system. So I think he's like, okay, this is my chance. I want to be like Elon, and I'm going to reform or take down this entire division in Texas, and then I can climb that political ladder. If that is your goal, one, you're a dumbass for saying that, because you shouldn't say that publicly. And that sounds bad in itself. You shouldn't do that at all. But what I'm saying is those 3 items right there make me think that it's all about him, and he don't care about those 3.9 million people that buy hunting and fishing license each year. He just made that all about him at that point, to me.
Yeah, I mean, and that might be the issue, that you're talking point 2 and 3. He might not ever think this is going to pass, but he's getting his name out there, and people are talking about him now. How many politicians do we have out there that are we think they're just dumb? But every day they're in the news. Every day people are talking about them.
You're right. That's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's trying to make his name. Maybe that's... maybe that could be the issue.
Flop, and he put it out there to make his name big, and all of a
Exactly.
sudden, boom.
We haven't even gotten down that
The
road.
dude is not dumb.
Yeah.
He's not a I don't know how many businesses he owns, but you're not going to be a dumb man and be as successful as he is.
But we're talking about a political war, which is completely different than, hey, I got businesses, but if nobody knows your name...
That's a fact.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah, maybe that, I don't know. That could be an issue, but I don't know. We don't know. And again, we don't hold no...
There's going to be a lot more to come out about it.
Yeah, we hold no ill will against gentlemen. And
I got a feeling this isn't going to be our only time that we discuss this.
Right.
Yeah, I think this was definitely opened the door for the conversation for us. We enjoyed kind of going around the table here, but we ask you guys to leave your comments under this video and let us know what you think. And maybe we can get some people in that this actually impacts, some breeders, or get some landowners, get some biologists and bring them on. And
Game wardens.
Get their perspective and bring them in and let them air out their grievances with it, or maybe they agree with it, and we get enlightened into other perspectives. But we wanted to open the conversation with you guys today. We hope you guys enjoyed this open discussion. I think it was well needed. I mean, the timing was right, just to kind of get this is new, and we all are kind of digging into it, and I think, we had a very good conversation. I hope you enjoyed following along. We welcome your comments. We welcome your opinions. I think you know where we stand. But, again, this is so new that we're still learning the details.
We don't know where we stand yet.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 5 months down the road. About.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm scared if this goes through, because this just makes me worry how it's going to affect us, because we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns here. And
in all fairness, I have to honestly say that Ben and I are probably biased in this deal, because we work pretty closely with a lot of Texas Parks and Wildlife biologists, some game wardens, and we work closely. We know them, you know what I mean? Like, we work with them. So we are a little biased to the thing, and I'll say that just for fairness.
Do you guys feel like you're more on a defense mode because you work so closely with some of these guys?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, to be honest and fair,
you're kind of
yes.
like on defense, like, there's a possibility. I like working with you. I like what you're doing. I like your entity and how it operates. But there's a possibility that you may not get to work with me anymore. It's kind of a defense mode a little bit.
But 100%, but also in agreement that there is some reform and revision that could be done to Texas Parks and Wildlife. Like fully understand and agree with that. Yes.
I mean, this brings up some good topics. You could take some good out of this and turn it into something better, but not in the way it is right now. And I disagree with it right now.
Right now, me too.
Yeah.
Well, I have to agree with you guys, and Jimmy hit it on the head. I mean, we do have a livelihood that gets involved with this. We are some outfitters that have a vested. We have an investment in guiding hunts. I mean, we've put a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of that could go away. A lot of it could get better. I don't know. I mean, maybe public land would be much more plentiful, and we have access to much more land. But as guys who have a lease, and we have access to an area where we can hunt and we can put people on experiences, and we enjoy doing that. There's not a lot of money in it, but we actually do it for the experience. We really enjoy seeing smiles on generations of hunters coming out. We've had grandfather, father, son all on one hunt. And that's what it's about, getting the next generation on the hunt, getting the next generation on the water, and showing them the outdoors.
And to be fair on that too, who was out there? Who was out there at 4 o'clock until 11 o'clock one night? A Texas Parks and Wildlife law enforcement, a game warden, right, with a youth program that we work with them on. But they're out there doing good things. That's what we do want to say, is that they do a lot of good things.
Yeah, I think we can sum it up with that. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. It was a long topic or a long discussion today, but there was a lot to unfold. We couldn't have done it in 15 minutes. We are going to cut it off here, but we hope you enjoyed this, discussion today. If you want to leave some comments there and share your things, we can probably come back for another, discussion on this, and we'll have some new information when we come back. But hey, thank you for joining us today, Robert and Angel.
Thanks for having me.
Likewise.
Jimmy, it was pretty good.
Pretty good. It feels good to be back, right?
It does. So I want to apologize for any of the technical difficulties. It's been a while, and this is not something that is easy to navigate live. Typically your long format content is edited and do all that. We try to leave all that out and try to leave it raw and uncensored. And I think you guys can appreciate that genuine, real, this is what it is live. And
they got the full meal deal, the reaction and how we, it's a tender subject.
It is.
And
yeah.
I really don't think it's going to be the end of it, but I will say thanks for having me on, and you guys please comment and share. PB&J, these guys they're out there in the field. They're the face for a lot of new hunts, for a lot of new experiences, and I think for me at the end of the day, this is threatening kind of what we know, and that's what we talk about.
Don't be scared of change, but we're kind of scared of change right now.
Exactly. We've known and lived by, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it.
But comment, you guys share, and you guys need to be more on the air. I'm going to call you out right now. It's been long and needed. This is refreshing. I myself have been off for a long time, but this is great.
Well, I think you were an inspiration for us to even be on, so it's really cool to have you sitting here.
Yeah, we kind of reflect on each other, and this is we've seen the proof that comes out of a good hunt or a good fish, whether it's a child, whether it's a veteran, whether it's just somebody that needs the help. And I think that's why we thrive. You magnetize to the auras that bring the light into the community, and that's where we want to be.
Heck yeah.
I just want to thank you guys for having me on this side of the mic and that background. But I kind of miss this, and I like this discussion that we're having, because that's one thing we're missing nowadays is discussing. Whether we agree with it or we don't, bottom line, you should be able to discuss it. And at the end of the day, whether I agree with you or I disagree with you, we're still going to be friends. We're still going to hunt together.
That's
we're still
right.
going to do all that stuff.
Yeah,
sure.
So, I miss this. I miss having, profitable, intelligent discussions with people.
So what you're saying is, if I 100% agreed with this and you 100% disagreed, we could still be friends?
Yes.
That's what
of
I'm talking
course.
about.
We'll still
That's
go
what
hunting together. We'll still trip and fall out in there.
That's what ice
laugh
cream
at each
shops are
other.
built on. That's like chocolate, not like vanilla. We're still gonna go have ice cream
You
together.
can have a
At the end of the
swirl.
day,
You can
we're
have
still gonna hunt.
We'll mix them together
Yeah,
sometime.
you still have a swirl. But I do. I really appreciate you guys having me out here.
Well, we appreciate having you, and we appreciate you guys following. Do us a favor. If you're still around and you're watching and you like this kind of content, make sure you leave us a comment. Like, share. All that engagement is much appreciated because that kind of helps us build the algorithms to get this going. As you know, I mean, you don't gain the followers you get by word of mouth. It's through you guys sharing and telling people, you know, hey, we're just a bunch of degenerate veterans who get together and go fish and hunt together, and we do a lot of things with the community, and that's what kind of, you know, pulls us together, pulls us in this community with you. So if you're like-minded men and women and you get out there in the outdoors and you like this kind of content, give us a like, follow us, share with your friends, share with your family, because the more people we get in these conversations, the better we kind of build off of it, and we get to have more experiences to share them with you guys. So we appreciate you guys following us. We're going to cut it loose. We'll see you on the next one.